All right, does that establish precedence that we're going to get game updates throughout the meeting?
I'm not saying it'll be the whole, but it sure is nice. Sure is. Reminds me to cut my ringer off. I had it cut off, but I like to make sure.
I think I've turned it on.
You got a new phone?
I do. So I think I've
All right, a little less than a minute, we'll get started.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Eccles is, be here in a minute or two.
All right, it's 6:30. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight on this Monday, August 3rd, for this Town of Archer Lodge regular council meeting in these Jeffrey D. Barnes council chambers. At this time, I'd like to ask Councilman Jackson if he would please give our invocation.
Sure will. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that we have as being a part of this community. We ask that you look over our young ladies as they're representing us in softball and just let them play hard and just give them as many blessings as you can, the traveling mercies, the whole thing, being away from home, all that. We thank you for people that live in our community that have devoted so much of their lives towards our community. That I think is probably the best representation of Archer Lodge and of our country as well. Just folks that are willing to serve others. We ask that you look over our service members here and abroad, just to put a hedge of protection around them and bless their families and help them deal with the separation from the loved ones. And just look over us as we go about the town's business tonight and help guide us in our deliberations and just help us to be the best representatives of the town that we can be and to remember whose we are in all the things that we do. And we ask for peace and grace in all things. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council item number 2, approval of the agenda. There is a change, 5A. Blake McLean is not with us tonight, and we're going to replace that with recognition of Mr. Mike Gordon, 5A. That's the only change that I'm aware of. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry is not with us this evening. Item number 3, public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? I believe we have at least one. Thank you, sir. Ms. Kay Boyette.
I understand that y'all are going to look at the speed limit on Loop Road tonight. And before Archer Lodge was a town, it was a dirt road, and there are still a few farmers on Loop Road. And from time to time, there are cows in the road. They're not always mine, but they're on my road. I can't take all the credit for it. And sometimes there's sheep in the road, and people working on my farm. We're all a little older than we used to be, and we drive a little bit slower than most everybody else. And so it would be in the issue of safety for us, for the animals, for the other people, to lower that speed limit. And if I'm in the yard at night, I can hear when someone that really wants to drain out their motor, they start at the end of Loop Road on the Archer Lodge end, and they just see how fast they can go down that hill, back up, and a little bit around that curve. And it's dangerous. And my dog has been run over too, but I revived him. And I know he shouldn't be in the road, but I can't tell him a thing in the world. But if you would consider that, I think we could save lives, and it would be much safer for the residents on Loop Road and for the people that travel on Loop Road.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kay. All right, that was all that was signed up for public comment. Item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion?
I got one question, and it actually pertains to Loop Road. And it was really talking about the rule ordinance. Do you know what that is? Because it was like that there's a rule ordinance in place, and we're going to change the speed limit for a section of it down to 45, but then establish a rule speed ordinance from milepost 1.797 to 2.851. Is that just the standard if it's not posted? If you look at the resolution, it's right above, be it further resolved at the end of the first page.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Absolutely.
I believe that is language that we received from DOT directly regarding that ordinance.
So do you know what the speed limit would be in the section with the rule speed ordinance?
No. 35, maybe? Because I think they want to change it to 45 or
Is
post it as
Is it
45.
55 now?
It's 55 now.
So change it to 45, so the section that we don't change to 45 would remain 55.
Or they're speaking how in the town, it's supposed to be 35 unless it's posted. Maybe they're talking about it reverting to that.
So it would establish a 45 mile per hour speed limit on Loop Road from the end till milepost 1.797. So
That'd be
pretty much the,
what's in Archer Lodge.
yeah.
And so the rest of it would just stay what it is currently.
I mean, this would just be about what, the portion that's in Archer Lodge.
So why are we requesting something to be done outside Archer Lodge?
We're not.
Where it's saying the 1.797 is, that's where the Archer Lodge town limit is. So from 00, whatever, the Archer Lodge side to mile 1.797, that should be the Archer Lodge town limit. And we don't have anything to do with,
Well, if you go back way up to the now therefore let it be resolved, we're not doing anything. We're requesting and supporting DOT doing what they're going to do because we don't have any authority to do anything. So we're requesting and supporting that they establish a rural speed zone outside of Archer Lodge for the part that's in the county, for the rest of Loop Road. So we're not saying, hey, DOT, you guys need to do this. It's, hey, we're requesting that you do this, but you do whatever you need to do, DOT. So that's what that is we would like you to reduce the speed limit from 55 to 45 for the part that's in Archer Lodge. The part that's in the county, you guys, we'd like you to establish a rural speed ordinance. If you do, great. If you don't, that's on you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion? I think we already had our motion in second. Without any further discussion, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 3-1. All right, item 5A, recognition of Mr. Mike Gordon.
Whatever works easiest for you.
Long time overdue. But I am so glad they remembered me and are letting me do this. So, this is going to sound very official because it is. And Governor Stein, trust me, we've been good friends. He used to work for me before he became the governor, before I became the representative. Don't tell everybody that. That's not for the media. But he does trust me. By the authority vested in me by the governor, and I'm speaking on his behalf as well, of the state of North Carolina, I am pleased to confer upon you the Order of the Longleaf Pine. In grateful recognition, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here. You know, I love Archer Lodge, y'all, my fifth place. In grateful recognition of your exemplary service to the state of North Carolina and your many contributions to your community and fellow citizens, as a recipient of this honor, you are hereby proclaimed an honorary ambassador of goodwill and are entitled to all the privileges thereof, which means you can just keep volunteering and working and working and working. Congratulations and thank you for this distinguished service. Order of the Longleaf Pine Award Statement. Here's to the land, and if y'all know this, say it with me. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State. So it is my honor to bestow upon you the longleaf pine for all the hard work that you have done. It started way back, a long time before I think I met you all, but yes, but I do remember being here on the day that Archer Lodge became a town, and I had just gotten on the school board, and I was sitting on the front row, and I thought, man, this is really cool. And then I remember coming to all of your sales that you had at the community center, and my house is filled with Archer Lodge. And one time there was somebody that was a distinguished lady in the community, and I outbid her because I was determined to get that item. So anyway. This is the longleaf pine, and all that I've just says on here, and a little bit more that I can't read because I don't have my glasses on. It's all English. So anyway, and then I have one more little thing. So let me turn this around so you can get a picture.
Good to go.
I will read the card. This one is from me. And this is, just let you take it out since it's your present. This is a letter from me recalling all the history that I can remember that, that he's been a part of, that things that I know that I've been involved with as well, to know that you all. Thank you for all your, and I'm going to give this to your wife. Let me get a picture of that too. Would you get one of these?
All right, 3, 2, 1.
It's all yours, and we're so honored. And do you want me to take this back to you? I see you can make a speech.
I think we can clap now.
Hello. It's not every day that my work life collides with my home life, so when that happens, it's very exciting. But when I found out that this was in the works, I knew we had to take this one step further and submit your body of work into the congressional record. And so we have printed what was submitted in honor of you winning this award, and it's my privilege to present it to you tonight.
Wow. This is a little overwhelming. Right. And it might get a little emotional. It's like my father once told me, he said, we're all here on this earth for a short time. And you better make the best of it while you're here. And so in Archer Lodge, it was truly in my heart. He always told me to try to leave it a little bit better than you found it. And so along with a lot of help with these folks up here and in this room, that's all I've ever tried to do is make it a little better than I found it, and I hope you do. And thank you for everything.
That's outstanding. I couldn't imagine a more fitting person to be honored with that award. We appreciate all that you've done, Mr. Mike. And, well, at this time, we're going to take a brief recess. And I think there are some refreshments and also a ball game on the TV. Back down this hall. Everyone is welcome to join if you would like. Council members, if you want to go get you a thing of punch or whatnot, but please be back pretty quickly. We got a long agenda. That doesn't mean y'all have to be back. You enjoy your time, and we appreciate it. So let's take about a 10-minute recess. recording back in place? Okay, thank you. Just make sure.
Is that chicken salad in the cooker?
Still 1-0.
All right. Item 5B, presentation from Mark Morgan, Executive Director of the Neuse River Football Association. Did I pronounce that right?
Football Alliance, but yes, that is correct. The European version, right? Well, thank you guys for council and mayor and David for the invite. Appreciate it. Again, my name's Mark Morgan. I've been the executive director for Neuse River Football since 2017. So we merged with Johnston United Soccer and Eastwick Soccer in 2017. Prior to that, I was with Johnston United when we started working with Archer Lodge in late 2014, 2015, and proceeded to create a league that has been continuing to grow ever since. My day job is I am a middle school assistant principal here in Johnston County, and so enjoy being able to continue on, working with the youth of this area in this county, and we're very passionate about what we've created. We do serve Johnston County, but also are pulling from as far as Roanoke Rapids. We've had a couple of kids come from there, Rocky Mount, Wilson, Goldsboro. And we obviously love to work with a lot of the smaller towns out there. We also do get into Knightdale, Wendell, Zebulon, and some of those communities as well. Our mission statement, just summarizing, is really not just about soccer, but also developing the kid on the field, but also off the field as well. Majority of our players are never going to play college soccer or anything beyond that. Some will, some won't, but those leadership skills, those soft skills that they bring from soccer, they can use, to hopefully be, important parts of our community. Our age groups or pathways that we start at right now are a Little Strikers program. We have players as little as 2 years old out there, and you laugh, what are they doing out there? Well, it's a lot of balance and things like that, and teaching them how to share. I mean, we're still working on that with some of the adults, but it starts as early as age 2. Our recreational soccer then goes all the way up to U18, so we are able to provide a place for our youth to play here in the community up until they are about ready to graduate high school. Now some. I've got 3 kids that play, and as they get a little bit older, there's jobs and cars and boyfriend, girlfriends and things like that a little bit more important, but it's nice to be able to have an opportunity for those kids to continue to play. Our Developmental Youth Academy 2 years ago was voted as the North Carolina's top youth academy by NCYSA, which is our governing body. So we were really excited and appreciated that. We also provide a higher level competitive and classic soccer and a new league called N1 that is a national league providing our players the opportunity to not only in North Carolina, but can also play regionally and nationally as well. We have a partnership that we been very pleased with Wilson Youth Soccer Association, another club about our size, about 1,500 kids. And we've been able to kind of partner with them to, again, provide more opportunities for our kids to be noticed on a regional and a national level. Recently, 3 years ago, we started a WPSL program, which is for our young ladies, and they play, it's kind of like, baseball, like the Clovers. So they get to, a lot of college kids, and it gives them an opportunity to stay in shape and get ready for the fall season. And then this year, we have started a UPSL team, which is a men's program. And we were accepted into UPSL at the premier level, which is the highest level that you can be at. And that is for ages 18 and up. So if you can still play, and are you guys interested, there's still some opportunities for you guys if you'd like. Let's see. As far as our relationship with the town, you guys have been fantastic. Know several of you, and it's been fun. It was great following Mike, and Mike. I remember sitting down for breakfast a couple of times with him as we started this partnership. And obviously, we have our office right here in your backyard at the community center, and just really appreciate the partnership that we've had with you guys for so long. Let's see, and I think that's all I've got.
Will you take us if we still have 2 left feet?
Mark, absolutely.
And just FYI, we do have the AED at the park now. So,
yeah, we got one too. And I carry that in my car, so you never know, Mark, right? You never know.
Is there such a thing as half-court soccer?
We do have a lot of small-sided games.
All right.
It's good for anybody.
Mark, why don't you touch on the new field that's going to be coming online at the town park and your plans for that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think Chris and I just got a text message about being able to play on a match. It was kind of funny. October 23rd, he's already asking for dates. We were super excited to be able to, look, the community center has been fantastic, and to be able to, have our office right there and be able to do practices. I'm not going to lie, I take advantage of that myself. It's nice to be close to home and be able to train my teams out there. But so excited for the town park. There's so many people who have been wanting to be able to have soccer right here in their backyard, and to have a great facility. We're super excited to go ahead and start programming on it after Labor Day, I believe. Yep, so we're super excited to be able to start our games. Our opening weekend for recreation is September 8th, and we plan on utilizing it as much as Chris and David will let us. But again, I think that was one of the biggest things that a lot of our community was talking to us about is, hey, when are we going to be able to play out on Castleberry? And so we're super excited. The park looks great. The parking's going to be fantastic, and thank you guys so much for that.
And Mark, one other thing, if you could,
Yes, sir.
just talk a little bit more about, the clinics that you do and the other, it's not just about the competitive
Oh, absolutely.
games, but the player development that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, this is I started coaching in 1992. And that was, I had an injury when I was playing in college. And I had just taken a coaching 101 class, and it was from a basketball coach. And it was one of the most profound and just really meaningful classes that I took. Not that all those other ones weren't great, but it really started me on that path of what we're doing. And it goes back to a lot of why, why being in the school system is important to me. It's really making an impact on these kids. But I really want to make sure that whatever we do, there's a lot of big clubs around here, and I don't know if you guys know some of those, but there's some big ones. And, North Carolina is a hotbed for soccer. But for us, it's really been about making sure that we're developing our kids and doing it for the right reasons. And again, there's a way to do it, without speaking poorly about any other organization. I feel like that our focus is, making sure that a kid learns how to do certain skills and different things like that, at an early age and do it right. And we hope that by employing the right coaches, the right staff, we can do that. There's a reason that we try not to grow too much beyond what our means are. It's not about just the dollars and things like that, that it's really truly about the kid, and the whole kid, not just on the soccer side. But we do run private trainings, clinics throughout the summer, some indoor futsal leagues, things like that to help our kids have a place to play and be able to then take that and compete, at the high school, middle school, and then the high school level, and really show the state that, we have good soccer here in Johnston County, and we're very proud of it. And, it's been fun. It's fun to see kids that, are going on to now return to our program that were once players and now are coaches. I was at a coffee shop this morning talking to a kid that was, hey, somebody said that you might be interested in some coaches. I was like, absolutely. And this kid, I remember coaching her, and she was in middle school, and so it's just fantastic to see our community kids come back to us. So, any other questions?
Outstanding. We appreciate what you and NERFA do for our community.
Thank you.
It's great to have, and we look forward to seeing you play out there at the park at Castleberry Road as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Glad to see those fields come along.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5C, update on comprehensive transportation plan and road inventory mapping project. Mr. Jason?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So through our partnership with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, specifically their City and Regional Planning Master's Program, they are going to be helping us in developing a comprehensive transportation plan as well as a road inventory for Archer Lodge. These efforts are directed by guidance in the draft update for the comprehensive land use plan. And anticipated completion is fiscal year 2027, so about this time next year for both projects. So what is a comprehensive transportation plan? This is sort of a new topic for Archer Lodge, and this will be our first foray into it. It is a long-range strategic document that outlines a community's vision for its future transportation network. This document will support community-adopted vision and goals by integrating land use and transportation planning. It allows communities to consider all modes, not just road improvements, for the future transportation system. More environmentally sound through the early and explicit consideration of environmental resources. And it's more efficient for the MPOs and NCDOT by tying the state CTP and federal MTP processes together in MPO areas. MPOs are municipal planning organizations, and MTP, I believe, is also municipal transportation planning, and more accountable to the public through the formal public involvement process, which will be a big part of both of these projects, specifically the CTP. And I will also state that a lot of this language has been taken from the guidebook that's been published by the NCDOT. So we followed that a lot, and we also have taken from Clayton's CTP, which they recently adopted, and we were involved as stakeholders in their planning process for that document. So the project outline will be broken out into different sections and sub-objectives for each of those that will be assigned to various groups of graduate students. So David and I are working with professors to formalize this and really make sure that we're covering everything, and also making sure that it's reasonable for the students to complete this in the time that we're expecting. So some of the different objectives will be a comprehensive background of the town and demographics. We'll do an existing conditions analysis, public and stakeholder engagement. We'll look at bike ped facilities. I know we had a plan adopted about around 2020, I believe, maybe earlier. But we'll be good to revisit that. Transit conditions, highway and roadway analysis, transportation safety, and project and implementation prioritization. And as I mentioned, public and stakeholder engagement will be an important part of this. Engagement of the public, officials, and community stakeholders. So the process will be developing that. We'll go through a couple of engagement phases, and we'll look at different tactics to try to really capture a wide variety of Archer Lodge and its various stakeholders, and making sure they're engaged in this process to make sure everyone has their say. And then we'll wrap up public and stakeholder engagement with analysis and conclusions that help guide the second phase of objectives for the project. Another aspect of the CTP project in this partnership with UNC is to develop an inventory of town roads and assess possible future needs. So that will include GIS mapping of all the DOT and private roadways. Currently, we only have DOT GIS information from them, but the private roads, there's no data on because they're privately owned. We have some information that distinguishes those, but we'll further expand on that. We'll identify and include projects planned for DOT, such as the Covered Bridge Widening Project and the Church and Community Center Crosswalk Project, and anything else that comes along. We'll identify the private roadway owners and compile a contact list so that when repairs are needed or there's issues with roadways, we have a way to try to address or see how the town can help and facilitate making sure that the roadways are safe. Identify areas of needs for potential future concerns with public and private roadways, and create a prioritization plan for potential projects. So this is a previous very crude map that I put together using DOT's overlay of their roads in the town and expanding beyond in some aspects. And then in the pink, and then the dark gray lines are the private roads that we do not have data on. Like I said, this isn't comprehensive, so there might be more, but this is a very crude look at that. Any questions on that? I kind of tried to keep it high level because we're still high level in the process, but we'll keep you all posted as we progress along. But we're looking to get this kicked off in a couple weeks as the students begin to start classwork.
So Mayor and Council, if I may, real quick, just make a few comments before you ask any questions. So first of all, I just want to say, again, this is, as Jason said, this is a follow-up as one of the things that's been highlighted in the draft comprehensive land use plan, something that the planning board has discussed a desire for. And so that was one of the efforts to follow up with that. Secondly, I just want to highlight that, this is an effort by the town to try to best utilize limited resources and be creative to get the job done. Trying to get a consultant to do this type of work, you're literally talking in the range of $100,000 to $200,000. But by developing the partnership with UNC, using graduate students, and literally we're probably talking at least 16 grad students working in the fall, and probably at least 12 in the spring. So a huge amount of work to be undertaken at just a fraction of the cost. So we've got $2,000 in reimbursements for some travel. as opposed to $200,000. So, we're excited about this project. It's going to, I think, be a very interesting project and a good development for the town at a very reasonable price. And it's really nice to be able to impact students' development, and professional development, education, to put their talents to the benefit of the town as well. So again, we appreciate UNC and their partnership, and really look forward to the project. I think it's going to be good.
And on that note, before I turn it over to you all, I thought it would be a good idea to have a liaison from council, if you also choose to be a party to these discussions that we have with the professors. Not every single conversation, and not every single meeting, but to help you all have like a representative from from this town council engaged in this project, so that you kind of have a good idea of what's going on. You can help feel like if you have more pertinent ideas than staff might on certain objects or objectives with the project, that you could do that. So I pose that possibility to you all to see if you would like to have a liaison for this project, and we can work out the details after, but that's all.
Are those meetings virtual, or will they be here?
So we don't have established team meetings scheduled. So we do have a virtual meeting with the professors coming up this week,
Yep,
a
Wednesday.
follow-up. And then we're going to campus in Chapel Hill at the end of August. And then with the stakeholder engagement, we're looking at a couple of public engagements, so those would be here. We're looking at another stakeholder engagement with some other folks, organizations, partners in the community as well. Certainly would want liaison part of those processes as well, but certainly, some of the discussions with the students and with the professors, more than likely they'd be virtual. There may be occasionally, we certainly have encouraged the professors to suggest that, the students come out here because it's easier to see things firsthand, but I imagine that's going to be somewhat limited. So yes, it would be mostly virtual.
Well, although it's not NC State, I am interested in being the liaison. So we'll talk after.
Okay.
Great. We appreciate y'all putting that opportunity together. Transportation and traffic, both present day and in the future, and managing that traffic is very important for us. So, sounds great. Any council have any additional questions before we move on? All right, hearing none. Item 6A, discussion and potential adoption of the comprehensive land use plan. Mr. Jason, I understand we also have Mr. Chad Meadows remotely. Is that correct? There he is.
Yes, sir.
Available for any questions as well. Okay.
Yeah, so we have an adopted document from our last council meeting in July, taking into consideration some of the updates that were discussed. Mr. Meadows had updated the document accordingly, and that should have been presented to you all. And Chad is here to help answer any further questions and for you all to entertain possible adoption tonight. I don't know if you have anything to add, Chad, at this time. Oh,
I'll just refresh everybody's memory. Can you guys hear me? Yes?
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. As you recall, we discussed this back on July 13th. At that time, there were about 7 additional revisions to the plan, text, and maps that council indicated that they would like to see. The most significant of those changes include the removal of the village center boundary from the future land use map in favor of simply retaining the village center concept. And this is on page 46 of your comprehensive plan. And so what we have done is revise your future land use map to remove the purple circle, if you recall, that was in the middle of town. That has been removed. The village center designation has been retained in the legend and is available for the town's future use, should you choose to use that. I will also mention the map on page 53, which was the potential ETJ map, also had initially the circle associated with the village center shown on it, and that also has been removed. So those are the biggies. There were a handful of additional text changes that were proposed, all of which have been incorporated into the document, dealing with street maintenance and removal of language referring to high densities, clarifying the village center not being mapped, and basically just trying to clean up one of the tables, table 4.2 on page 41. So mostly housekeeping changes, and I'm available to answer any additional questions that you guys have.
Council have any additional questions?
I don't know, this is kind of a combination question, comment, and I apologize, I didn't pick up on this on the last draft. But I know when we've got the goals, we're terming the ETJ as consider it expanding the town's planning jurisdiction, but we're saying establish a new village center. I personally would like that to be more consider establishing a new village center instead of we are going to establish a new village center. Because I think there's still a lot of questions about do we want to go down that route or not.
What page?
Well, it's really, if you look on page 2, where we talk about the 4 goals, and then it's throughout, really the references on page 50 as well. It's goal 2, establish a new village center. So it's almost like, don't consider it, but do it. And I would like some more of the discussion on do we do it or not do it.
So, on page 2, there where it says to establish a new village center, what you're suggesting is to consider an establishment of the new, is that correct?
Consider establishing a new village center. And like I said, I know it's back there on page 50 as well, when we're talking about the individual goals. And it may be in other locations where we talk about village center. I know on page 46, we also talk about the village center. So it's, if you could do a word search, for village center, and it just, instead of establishing, consider establishing. Because it's even on page 4 too. Well, no, I'm sorry, it is not on page 4. Because I know last time we were talking about, most of the stuff in here is just stuff to be discussed in the future.
I don't have any problem at all with making those adjustments. In fact, if this is something that is the pleasure of the council, I've made those changes while we've been, here in the meeting discussing it. So I think that's a fairly straightforward, change to address.
Chad, did you read the description on the village center? Does it reference it there as well?
This shows up on page 36, okay? It shows up on page 50, as you indicated. And so we've caught those pieces. And I understand your direction, which is that you just want the word, the use of the term consider, or consider establishing. And I'm amenable to that if the council is.
I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
Did you get it on page 2 as well, Chad?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess the only comment I have is, I have issue with the ETJ boundaries. This current sitting council did not vote on those boundaries, and it concerns me. I think we should have had an opportunity to discuss it here and vote on it.
I don't think any council has voted on the ETJ boundary. I think that's exactly what we're doing here now. We've not voted on the ETJ boundary. We've considered it's been discussed before, but we've not voted on it.
This council should have had the opportunity to talk about the actual boundaries that are being proposed here.
Well, I know I've brought it up a couple times that the ETJ is a time and a half the size of existing Archer Lodge, and you're gonna have basically 40% of the population of the combined areas paying for 100% of planning and zoning. That's what I have a problem with, that extra cost of planning and zoning.
If I may, Mayor and Council, just point out that, I mean, this is just conceptual. I mean, this is, theoretical. I mean, it's something that would be determined, meets and bounds at a future point in time. If council, at a future point in time, decided to move forward with a request to establish an ETJ.
There'll be quite a few steps, involved in that.
Very much so.
I know, but this is the map that would be presented.
Not necessarily. It's, again, this is conceptual. We'd still have to get some additional details. Is that correct, Chad?
Yes, absolutely. The purpose for including this goal, and the purpose for including a conceptualization on a boundary is to demonstrate to the Johnston County Board of County Commissioners that Archer Lodge has given an appropriate amount of consideration to the request. There are many steps in the process, not least of which include going to the county commission and hearing their questions and comments and concerns, holding a public informational meeting with all of the affected people, conducting, some sort of formal request to the county and the county's formal consideration of that. It's extremely likely that you will see some boundary adjustments through that process. This was proposed to get the ball in motion. I would suggest that you consider this as a starting point, and one that is available for further discussion, further clarification as you go through the process. There may likely be people who are not interested in participating in the ETJ, and town council may decide that, for whatever reason, it doesn't make sense for them to consider including them in whatever, sort of next draft map that goes along. Many steps in the process here, and the issue on the table is, until you've gone to the county commission and asked if they're even going to entertain your request, it's kind of a moot point, because if they're not going to entertain your request to grant you ETJ, it doesn't matter where the boundaries are. You're not going to get it. You're going to have a public informational meeting with the community, and you may need to decide based on that discussion whether or not you're prepared to go forward or not. So I wouldn't get the impression that this is the map that's going to likely be the outcome. I would fully expect this to be subject to further vetting, further revision, and that's very typical. So that would be my response, to you there. At this stage in the game, it makes sense to draw the boundary in accordance with what's available to you under the statutes, and then work on further changes as you move through the steps in the process.
Chad, the way I take it, is what is drawn here is what even would be possible and what would be impossible, correct?
Correct. Well, yes and no. Yes, it is what is possible, but we've actually drawn the boundary to exclude areas that you could conceivably seek ETJ extension into, notably Flowers Plantation. That's within the statutory mile boundary of your contiguous corporate limits. You are fully within your right to pursue ETJ expansion into that area. Now, we're not suggesting that you do that, and you have some authority to choose not to go into that area, and that would be our suggestion for your consideration. It may well be that there are other parts of the community that you are able to ask for inclusion in your ETJ, but that you choose not to include, whether that's because the county commissioners have a point of view, the residents in that area have a point of view, your staff have a point of view. All of those questions remain to be asked, and sort of going forward with some sort of line in the sand about a map right now potentially excludes your opportunity to have those discussions. And so I don't think that the comprehensive land use plan is asking you to commit to a boundary. It is simply suggesting that you consider going through this process, recognizing that the boundary is likely to change as you move through the process. And what that boundary looks like at the end might be different than what's on page 53 today.
I was going to inquire about that as well. I know that we have a courteous relationship, and we've had previous conversations with Clayton. They're doing a lot of expansion on the north side, and I'm just curious, are we under any time constraints? Are they proposing any, is planning and zoning looking at some of the same areas that we are?
Great question. When we started this project, Clayton's stance at that time was that they fully intended to go and ask for a 3-mile extension, which would have covered the vast majority of the kind of northwestern quadrant of the land area that's identified in the map before you. After discussion with us, we agreed on a slightly different boundary, the boundary that is shown on page 53. Now, after, at some point afterwards, and I don't know exactly when, Clayton decided not to pursue the additional 3-mile extension that they were envisioning when we started. It was actually our hope to go in tandem with them, with this request to the county, with a show of solidarity and a show of discussion and cooperation and coordination. However, at the end of the process here, they have opted not to go forward, and Archer Lodge has continued to respect the boundary that was discussed, during that process. Ultimately, and if you study this carefully, you'll see that Archer Lodge could go farther to the north and to the west than is shown, but out of respect for the discussion that we had with Clayton, that's not being shown on this map. Again, another issue where you might decide through the subsequent steps in this process that that area needs to be included, or some portion thereof. We would encourage you to make those decisions at that point in the process, not to spend days, weeks, months, years talking about a boundary and never going forward. Recall that the impetus for all of this was legislation that came out of the General Assembly that sought to remove ETJ authority entirely from all local governments in North Carolina. That bill has not passed, or did not pass at that time, but there's no reason to think that that bill might not come back. And so that was factored into the calculus of this request and why this was included in the plan.
So from my opinion on this is, this is our comprehensive land use plan. However, it is very much a living document. I was helped when we did our very first one, and as soon as somebody saw a picture of it, they came to me and fussed me out over something. It's just it being a concept. But so far as our ETJ goes, I think we'd be crazy if we tried to, all at once, try to incorporate everything that is in our ETJ. And I don't think most municipalities even try to do that. They look for an area where they have an interest in, and that's what they tend to go for. They don't tend to grab everything that they can most of the time, at least not that I recall. And I think us doing that would be a too big of a bite. So the bottom line is, this is just, it's a concept. It's a working thing, and we don't have to, we can print this today and we can vote on this today, and then tomorrow we can change our minds. And when we start talking about meets and bounds stuff, then that probably ought to be a meeting where we kind of focus on that particular thing, and not a meeting where we have quite a few other things to do, because that will take time. We've done that before, and that's before it even leaves here to go to the county.
Yep.
That takes a considerable amount of time. So my opinion is, I'm okay with voting for the plan with the amendments that we've already talked about, and then we talk about the boundaries at some other point.
I was going to ask, because if you look on page 51, the short-term actions under the ETJ discussion, it's decided the town wants to seek ETJ authority. Would it make you feel better if we added on to that, decided the town wants to seek ETJ authority and what the potential boundaries may be?
Teresa, could you say that again, please? I'm about a deaf guy.
Well, page 51. Short-term actions. The very first one, under A, decide if the town wants to seek ETJ authority.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it would relieve some concern if we added, and if so, specify the boundaries or clarify potential boundaries. Something that says, in addition to deciding if we want it, then have the discussion on what boundary we may want before we go to Johnston County.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that, because I mean, that's eventually what we would end up doing anyway.
Right, if that would
Yeah, I'll be
relieve
fine
part of
with
your
that.
concerns.
Yeah.
All right, restate that. Just,
Oh, gosh. Listen, 3 times and they're all going to
I'm
be
going to ask for a
different.
motion in a little bit, and I only want to ask once. So page 51,
Yeah, what, under,
I know the section, what the wording?
well, it decide if the town wants to seek ETJ authority, and if so, define potential boundary. Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
And just like Councilman Jackson says, this just puts it on the board that it's at least being considered on the radar, potentially. And it's definitely not a done deal. There's multiple steps that would have to be achieved before that came to fruition. We are the only town in the county, by the way, that does not have an ETJ. We currently do not, of course, but this does put it at least in a plan to where if we decide, this council or any future council decides that they want to petition that, then at least we have a plan to show that it has been discussed and something that is on the radar. But it does not make it so tonight or next week or next month.
That comment made me think of one other one. I realized one other, going back to page 50, since we're doing consider establishing, should that first short-term action be the same as for the ETJ, decide if the town wants a village center? Just to be consistent with the action items for the ETJ, since they're both being considered. Could you hear that, Chad?
I sure did. Before we leave the issue of goal 3, consider expansion of the town's planning jurisdiction, Mr. Mayor, if I could suggest some language to section 531A, decide if the town wants to seek ETJ authority and its potential boundary. Just in the heading of the short-term action would be the suggestion that I would pose that protects your ability at some point in the future to contemplate a boundary. You'll need to do that anyway. The county commission's going to ask you first thing, what's the boundary that you want? So, you know, that's, but believe me when I say the world will move you in that direction if and when you decide to go that route. So, you know, that would be a suggestion for language if you were so inclined. As far as the other, you know, sure, all of these are sort of structured or infer that this all turns on council's willingness or the town's willingness to do this stuff. That's sort of embedded in this. The reason that you see that question about this decision point in the process for the ETJ is because there are some concrete steps that need to be taken with respect to actions from other governments, whether that's the county, actions from residents coming and talking to council in a public hearing format is why that's phrased that way. You know, to me, the issue about whether or not the town should decide if it wants to consider the possibility of maybe thinking about getting at some point in the future, perhaps a village center somewhere, maybe. I mean, I understand that there feels like maybe there's some reluctance to do this, and I'm happy to put language in here that says consider doing this, but to me that is inferential in all of this material.
Like I said, the only reason I mention adding it is from a consistency standpoint, because both are being considered, but only one has to decide if you want it.
Okay, Mr. Chad, repeat that language for me, please, on 531A.
Yes, sir. 531A would read, decide if the town wants to seek ETJ authority and its potential boundary in the heading. To clarify and set down for everybody that part of that decision process would include further discussion about its boundary.
Thank you.
And, you know, if council is of the mind to want to incorporate an additional short-term action in 521, which is consider establishing a new village center, I'm happy to do that and phrase that. Likewise, that would obviously adjust the ABCD. It would now become ABCDE, and we would insert this, decide if the town wants to seek, or decide if the town wants to consider establishing a village center. If you'd like to add that to A, I'm fine with that. That's y'all's call to make. To me, that's inferred, but if that's something you think is important, then sure, happy to put it in.
Well, like I said, I'd prefer it's added just to be consistent, but I don't know what y'all
I'm fine with it
think.
since we're already making changes.
So,
Chad, can the language be changed in 5.2 instead of adding E?
sure. You know, y'all can change this language whenever you want. It's your plan. You could direct staff to go over this language with you on a rolling basis. You know, there's a lot of options there. I don't want you to feel like these these are handcuffs on you and that you have to follow this. This is a guidance document. And, you know, I mean, it's probably not the most efficient thing for us to do to sit here and wordsmith the document in the middle of your consideration. If you'd like to reflect this idea of a decision point about whether or not you want to go forward with this, I think that's fine. If you want it in the intro paragraph, that's fine. If you want it in the short-term action part, that's fine. Just let me know what you want.
I think it makes more sense here.
I want to admit personally, we've made some amendments with it that I think I'm comfortable with, and I think we have other things. I think we have other things to work on tonight, so I'm good with the amendments as we've made them.
What would be the best way to word the motion?
Would be if you're looking for adoption, adopt the comprehensive land use plan with the amendments set forth in open discussion.
Okay. Do we need to name Village Center and ETJ specifically?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
We've got it on the record in the minutes of
Okay.
what those amendments are.
All right.
And I know Chad's been kind of adjusting on the fly
Okay.
with it as well, so.
All right.
That language is in track changes for you. It'll be available for you to go back and look at any time.
Okay. Is anyone comfortable in making the motion that we approve contingent upon the amendments as read earlier?
So can I say it this way, Mayor? I'd make a motion that we adopt the comprehensive land use plan as amended in our discussion.
That pass?
That does.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Chad, are you clear on the last thing we were talking about, the decision point for the Village Center? Because I know you sort of ask a question, you do it wherever we wanted, but I don't know if you were clear on where we wanted it.
I do not have any adjustments to short-term actions 521 on page 50 that incorporate an additional action that anticipated a decision point prior to the decision to launch a public awareness campaign. That would be something that you could do, and I would assume that there would be, as a necessary part of that, discussion about whether or not you wanted to initiate this effort with that public awareness campaign. If you chose not to, then you would simply choose not to. And I mean, you know, I'm not sure that you need that here. I understand that you perhaps want that here. If you want it as for the sake of consistency, then, you know, the suggestion would be 521A, decide if the town wants to consider establishing a village center. And then that would be essentially the short-term action, and it would, I mean, you know, I'm happy to try to write a sentence for that, but I think it's pretty descriptive. If this is something that you want.
I would like it added. I don't know about the rest of the council members.
You would like,
The decision point as a 5.2.1A.
that'd be fine with me.
That's fine.
So are you amending your original motion?
So, Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion to adopt the comprehensive land use plan as it is currently amended.
Okay. And the second that we had, will we still have a second? All right, we still have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, good deal. Passes unanimous. Item 6B, ordinance AL 2026-08-1, regulating firearms and other weapons on town-owned property. Mr. David.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Council, as you recall, at the last meeting, Town Clerk Ben King presented a draft ordinance restricting open carry of firearms and other weapons on town-owned property while permitting concealed carry with a valid permit. After some discussion, there was clarification that was needed on whether the 3-inch knife restrictions refer specifically to include the blade, and conspicuous signage was deemed necessary for enforcement. Councilmember Davis suggested a penalty structure of an infraction for the first offense and a misdemeanor for the second, with a $200 fine proposed for the initial violation. So based on this direction from council at the last meeting, staff is revising the ordinance to include the graduated penalty structure, and then the class 3 misdemeanor for a third or subsequent offense, subject to the penalties prescribed by law. The revised ordinance also adds the exemption for ordinary pocket knives and further clarifies the blade length provisions applicable to knives regulated under the ordinance. So council is asked to consider the draft ordinance as amended and adopt the ordinance either as presented or as you further would like to amend.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Your last statement.
Sure. So council is asked to review the draft ordinance and consider adoption of the ordinance either as presented or if you want to make additional amendments.
I'd like to see some other things changed in it. Just, I'm not comfortable with the other weapons. Because pocket knives are pretty ordinary. Everybody a lot of people carry them, and I don't want to.
So which section are you looking at, sir?
So here's under
Definition section there.
definitions and then exceptions.
So exceptions, it says this section does not apply to ordinary pocket knives. As used in this section, ordinary pocket knife means a small knife designed for carrying in a pocket or a purse that has a cutting edge and a point entirely enclosed by its handle that may not be opened by a throwing explosive or spring action as defined by general statute. So it exempts pocket knives.
So I guess the definition of the pocket knife, I don't agree with that definition. Or I don't agree with ordinary pocket knife in this document.
So I'm sorry, where are you looking at definitions? I'm looking at section 18.
Under exceptions, I think.
Yeah, I'm under exceptions.
F6.
Right, there was a reference to definitions, and I went back to the definitions section, and pocket knives is not included in section 18-37B definitions. So you're referencing.
But it defines pocket knife in here, it means a small knife. So under exceptions, it's defining what it is.
Okay, so it's not in definitions, but it's saying that it does not apply to pocket knives, which you don't want it to apply to pocket knives. Is that correct, sir?
So I guess like open by throwing, spring action, defined under North Carolina General Statute 14-269. I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with the statute?
As applied to our document.
Mr. Town Attorney, what suggestions might you have in this scenario?
My question for this is an open carry prohibition, and does anybody open carry the pocket knife? And generally for the very definition of pocket knife is carried in the pocket and concealed, and we're not prohibiting any concealed weapons, we're only prohibiting open carry. So, and I was pulling up the statute really quick, but for this, what it's saying is a pocket knife, you have to manually open it, which is kind of the definition of the pocket knife, so you don't sling it to open it, you push a button and it's spring action, so a switchblade, or any kind of explosive, which they make knives where the blade shoots out almost like a projectile, with a small incendiary thing. And none of those would be pocket knives per se. And let me just pull up the.
According to the general statute.
Give me just a second.
Is there a particular type
So-
of knife that you don't want?
So most pocket knives now, they're lever assisted, spring assisted. I'm not talking like a switchblade. I'm just talking the knives we have right now that most people carry nowadays. And this right here makes it illegal to have those.
No, it exempts it from,
If you keep it in your pocket, nobody's gonna know.
Are you talking a certain length of a blade or like I carry, well,
The general statute,
You carry a machete in your purse, is what
I'm
you're saying?
just saying, what specifically are you?
I disagree with the general statute and I don't want it applied as
so,
personally to this document.
under exemptions, pocket knives are exempt, so they would not apply to, they would not be a violation. Pocket knives in their entirety. Which I think is what you want, correct?
If you're concerned about the language just as defined by NCGS, we can take that out
Okay.
because the language that we have there is a direct quote from the statute.
Oh, yeah, so, well, that's the issue, but I would like ordinary taken out also. They have the general statute language, or the general statute taken out. And
Okay.
not ordinary pocket knife, that's part of the general statute.
But let me ask this from a legal standpoint. What are you trying to allow? And maybe I can rephrase this paragraph to allow what you want to allow. And what it is, and I know what you're talking about, like Kershaw blades.
Yeah.
Where they have the little thumb assist or the little finger assist.
However you want to phrase that, a lot of people carry those types of blades.
Yeah.
It would fall, most of them fall in the 3-inch, or what do we say,
3-inch blade.
3-inch blade. But according to general statute, those are illegal.
They're not though, because spring action is, it's nuanced, but spring action is completely opened by a spring. So, and that's how the Kershaw knives get around it, is because you actually have to do something with your hand, which potato
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
But spring action is I push a button and it shoots, a switchblade. So if you actually have to manually do something to open it, whether it's pull the little knob on the top or push the thumb assist, if you're having to do that, it's not a spring action. You've manually opened the knife. So that's why the Kershaw knives kind of still fall into an ordinary pocket knife.
Well, I would like language in there that would allow a knife like that. But this doesn't necessarily do that.
Okay. Means a small knife designed for carrying in a pocket or purse that has a cutting edge and point entirely enclosed by its handle. That may not be opened by throwers. Give me just a second, let me write it down before I say it out loud.
I would make a comment, I would think it's a good practice when you are doing an ordinance to have the backing of the North Carolina general statute.
All right, so let me listen to this and see if it helps with what you're trying. So just add it on to the end. Any knife that can be opened by thumb or finger assist mechanism would be considered an ordinary pocket knife under this section.
Okay.
Does that get in what you want in? Okay.
Any additional questions or comments?
I had in my notes that the comment was made to also exclude pepper gas and tasers from the last meeting.
Yes, we did.
Was made to,
To exclude pepper gas and tasers.
yeah.
I think the big thing is whether or not it's concealed, correct?
No,
I mean, people typically don't walk around with a taser on their hip open.
they do carry mace on their keychains.
I've seen that.
So that would be in addition to another weapon, pepper gas or taser.
All right, any additional questions or comments?
Is this for public comment or? No.
Okay, so the two items in question, again, talked about basically the basic mechanism of a pocket knife, and then pepper gas and taser. So would a workable ordinance be such to approve the ordinance as presented to include the two amendments made with the definition of the mechanism of the pocket knife, as well as addressing pepper gas and taser? Would that?
It'd be the amendment to 1837B and the amendment to F6.
Okay. All right.
And those amendments are, again, just adding pepper gas and tasers to the definition of other weapon, and then the language of a thumb and finger assist mechanism on being an ordinary pocket knife. And I can get you that language.
Okay, so that's where the mechanism definition is going. Is that where, and F6 is where the pepper gas and taser would?
Reverse that.
Okay,
B2 is pepper gas and taser. F6 is knife that can be opened with a thumb or finger assist mechanism.
F6.
Let me, I'm confused because I see the other weapon where if we add pepper gas and taser, that means it is subject to this ordinance. But I thought the comment from last time was to make those exceptions and not be restricted by this ordinance.
I guess I'm still questioning on how, even in the original draft, how was that limiting pepper gas and tasers to begin with?
It says it shall be unlawful for any person to display any firearm or other weapon. It was defined in other weapons, so.
So I think maybe they've taken that out. Because we have stun gun.
So that would still be a similar taser device. So that would need to be removed. But you're saying that wasn't added to the exceptions though, right?
Right, I didn't
So we
find
would
it,
need
but I
that-
had it
We would
in
need that added to the,
exceptions. That was what I had for my notes, and I didn't make the comment, I'm not quite sure. I
just to
thought,
have it there.
So amendment would not be to add pepper gas or taser as another weapon. So it would, in legal ramification, you can, if it is not an other weapon, you would be allowed to open carry it.
Okay, well, then just not include it then, right?
Yeah, so if you don't include it, you can open carry.
Okay.
Because if it's not one of the things that's in 1 or 2, then you can open carry it.
So we just need to have stun gun removed from the definition?
Yeah, if you want to be able to open carry, like the stun gun,
Yeah.
then it would need to be taken out.
Okay. Does council have a? I'm okay with that. That's what we agreed on last time.
So we're still amending B2, Mr. Mayor, is just instead of adding, we're taking off stun gun.
Okay, B2, taking off stun gun. And for clarification, we are not addressing pepper gas or taser,
Correct.
okay?
Since they are not listed, they are not prohibited.
Okay, but F6, we are still addressing the mechanism of a pocket knife, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Is council good with those amendments? All right, do I have a motion to approve the ordinance regulating firearms and other weapons on town-owned property with the 2 amendments in section 18-37B, removing stun gun, and in the section of F6, adding the definition which council gave earlier, expanding the mechanism of pocket knives?
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion?
I'd like for us to hold off on our table this till the next meeting so we can have some more public comment on it. I don't know how the rest of the council feels about that.
The one we just voted on?
Well, we have a motion and a second on the table.
Oh,
You have voiced your desire to table. I guess if we have a motion and a second, we have a vote. If it doesn't pass, then council can decide to do other. Is that
That's correct.
okay? All right. So we have a motion and we have a second. We recognize Councilman Davis's request to table, but because we have a motion second, we will have a vote. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay. All right, now, would you like to make your motion?
I make a motion, we table it to the next meeting and allow public comment on this
Okay,
item.
all right. We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, we're tabling it until the next meeting to allow for public comment.
Clarification, when we say public comment, we're saying as part of the regular public comment period, or we're suggesting something different like a public hearing?
Just
They're 2 different things.
Public comment period, just allow people time to come and comment on it.
Okay, so nothing set it apart, but just general public comment? Okay.
Okay, for the record.
Mayor, may I take a brief moment of personal privilege and ask Chris to come out to make an announcement?
Absolutely, please.
bet I know.
Proud to announce that our young ladies have advanced to the next round, winning 2-1 over
Texas.
Southeast, or you can just say Texas.
Awesome. Outstanding.
Proud of them.
When is their next game?
It looks like it'll be Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday against Florida.
And that score again, 2-1?
2-1.
Wow.
That was tight.
That was a defensive struggle, wasn't it? Pitch and duel.
Wow.
That's-
talking with them, they expected something like this.
That is terrific. That is terrific. All right, item 6C, ordinances, AL 2026-08-2 and AL 2026-08-3, regulating alcoholic beverages on town-owned property and regulating small events within municipal boundaries. Mr. Jason.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just get to my page here. So you should have the full ordinance language in your agendas. We'll pretend like last time didn't happen. So I think we didn't get a chance to discuss much just because you didn't have the full language, at least for the alcoholic beverages, but you should have everything for the special events. We did have some comments that were going to be considered. We might have them here. Some highlights, we updated the definition of alcoholic beverages to align with applicable North Carolina general statutes. We prohibited the possession and consumption of alcoholic beverages on town-owned property and public streets except as otherwise authorized. We revised the language to account for beverages that exceed the previous 6% alcohol by volume threshold. And then for Chapter 20 special events, we're establishing a new special events ordinance. We're defining what constitutes a special event requiring a permit, creating a special event permit application, review, and approval process. And this provides the town with consistent framework for reviewing and managing special events within its jurisdiction. So this is just presented to you all for further discussion, provide any revisions, and consider adopting if you all see fit.
Jason, could you just speak to the fact that there are two different ordinances that have been presented, that it doesn't have to, they aren't necessarily, it's not, you don't have to do both, you could just do the one?
Sorry, I should clarify. Before you, we have Chapter 3, alcoholic beverages, which was an existing chapter in our ordinances. It only had definitions essentially, it didn't really have any other language. So we're expanding that section to be more broad and give us a better definition of what the town considers these substances. That is item 1 for your consideration. And then item 2 is Chapter 20, special events, which is a brand-new chapter for our ordinances. I reviewed a lot of neighboring ordinances with their special event policies. I tried to take and cater it to what Archer Lodge needs and what our realities are, like what would we actually want and use, and tried to make that as relevant to the town as possible. So if you'd like to discuss them separately, or however y'all see fit, but we do have 2 items to consider, Chapter 3 for alcoholic beverages, and then also Chapter 20 special events.
So I would, suggest that maybe you look at Chapter 3 individually, and then you may want to consider that on its own merits, and then, begin discussions if you want to pursue the second one about the special events. And certainly ask the town attorney, see if he has any comments, guidance that he'd like to offer as council begins discussion.
I guess my question is, can we consider the alcohol ones as it referenced the new policy?
So rephrase it, I'm sorry.
The alcohol
Yes,
ordinance references the new ordinance.
The new special events.
It's on the back.
No, cross-references C, chapter
Okay, I
20.
see. Yep. And Jason, do we have anything on parades and special events right now?
Parades, no.
Okay.
I have two on my queue that are kind of waiting on some balance.
But nothing on the, if we went to Muni code right now, there's nothing.
No,
Okay.
Chris, are you talking about parades or special events?
more special events.
Okay.
One being the Pride event, and then I was approached, I just got an email Friday about a harvest festival for, in remembrance of Noel Strong. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the lady that passed away with cancer last year. They were going to do kind of a harvest festival in her honor, but they're kind of deciding between which park they went. And guidance with this would definitely help me push them a way that we can kind of go ahead and get that finalized.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where if you approve the chapter 20 special events, that would go in. If we don't approve it right now, chapter 20 is reserved as of right now. So that section would come out until there is a chapter 20 to cross-reference.
Okay.
And that kind of goes along with 3.2C as provided for that in chapter 16, should be chapter 20 parades and special events. That would be contingent upon having a chapter 20 parades and special events.
So I guess for me, last month when we said to go ahead with a special events permit, I was hoping or had in mind that it would be for town property and not the whole town. So that was the direction I was hoping we were going in. Right now, it's just, for me, it's too overly broad.
Well, to me, it's too much, for lack of a better word, government overreach.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you look at it, it's talking about block parties and concerts. And if you look at everything that's required, say if you wanted to have a July 4th block party, you got to have an incident management plan, you got to have a safety plan, you got to have a traffic control plan. I mean, to me, I don't support the special events permit unless it does just, apply to town property, not individual properties. And especially, you got to turn it in 60 days ahead of time. And the same thing for a concert. You know, if you wanted to invite 3 or 4 couples over and have a little band, that's a concert. So you're going to have to go through all this process. You did a lot of work and a good job, but I just think it's too much overreach for government.
Well, and again, I think this was, I think the alcohol was something that was more discussion and more of an urgent need for. The special events was as a starting point for discussion.
So tonight, you're just looking for the alcohol portion, the chapter 3.
If council is ready to consider chapter 3, then yeah, I would recommend to pursue that, yes, sir.
I was going to suggest that also. I think 20 should definitely have more public comment. Maybe let people know this is, and it's already on the agenda, it's already out there, but people don't, I mean, let's be honest, people don't really look at the agenda like they should, but I think if they knew something like this would affect their yard party or block party, like I literally passed on my way to my subdivision, someone who had a shower or something on their property. There were probably 12 cars and they had a tent, but they had the property to do that and it didn't block any traffic or anything, but this would affect someone having like a shower or something on their own private property.
Because a requirement for getting one is if you have a temporary tent.
Right.
So you
And
would have to have a special use permit if it.
right, he would have been affected.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think more people might need to be aware of this and have some input.
Are there some number for events that are going to have 500 people? Or more?
Or not even 500. Maybe if you know you're going to have 100.
So I think maybe there's proof that we're having a whole lot of discussion, and we're just talking, we're trying to vote on chapter 3.
Yeah, let's just make a motion then that if you guys want to do that, that we vote on 3 and table 20.
I think that's probably wise.
So I'm willing to move forward with that, but I'd like on the, on page 171 of the agenda packet. And, I guess the alcohol ordinance page on the back, I'd like to see the, under section 3.2, section C taken out for now. Because the other sections would cover on town property, public property.
And I would agree with that from the ordinance standpoint, if we don't have the special event ordinance. We don't have kind of a definition of special events. So until we get the chapter 20, I think, and that's something that can be added later.
Amended.
So one thing for all of you guys, and I think Jason may have just accidentally picked up the wrong percentage because there's 2 talked about in the statute that's referenced. Malt beverage is up to 15% alcohol by volume. If it's over 6%, there has to be a special label put on it, but a malt beverage is not more than 15% alcohol by volume. And then there's certain rules.
So 15 instead of 17?
No. Malt beverage definition,
15 instead of 6.
yeah, 15 instead of 6%.
And is the 17% correct for unfortified?
Yeah, unfortified is still 17%. And the rule, there's special rules for manufacturers if it's over 6% for labeling, but. So that'll cover your IPAs and stuff like that.
All right, so specifically with chapter 3, which is what's being discussed, the 2 changes in the definition of malt beverage, changing the 6% to 15%. And then on page, the following page, section 3.2, removing section C. Those are the 2 changes.
Those are the ones I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion noting those 2 changes?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we, let me get back to the first page so I can see what I'm saying here. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance, what's it, AL 2026-08-2. That's chapter 3, is that correct?
Chapter 3.
Yep, okay. Regulating alcoholic beverages on town-owned property as amended.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 3-1. All right, item 6D, Mr. David.
Actually, if I may, Mayor and Council, just, I know there was some discussion about special events. If we could get a little bit more clarity as far as how you would like for us to adjust that moving forward.
Okay.
It seemed like we were leaning towards like, some of this is far too broad. Maybe we want to narrow down onto like an event size, or like what's the impact. As like a house party that has 20 people at the house, like that's not really an event. That's a private thing I would consider. But I know that we have received calls for certain properties holding certain events that neighbors have felt have not had any oversight at all, because the town doesn't really have any ordinance teeth to enforce certain things from that standpoint. So when I come up with something like this, I'm giving you all the options so we can whittle down what works best. So that's just kind of what would help me try to make this better, so that when we present this again, we get our public comment, that puts us in a really good spot from there to, either make a decision on the next one, really refine it, or, whatever, but.
Could we do something that specifies whether or not it's something that's built and held at a residence as opposed to a business? Because there's a family that lives across the street, that works across the street from where I live, and they have probably 500 people there sometimes. And they should be allowed to do that. They've got plenty of property for it, and it's their business.
Right.
It does not affect traffic when they do that?
No. Mm-mm. I mean, it doesn't come out on the street. All the vehicles are up on their property and all that, and it doesn't affect anything. It's never affected me any more than our normal traffic does anyway.
Oh, okay. That's a lot of people.
Okay, any further direction for staff to make some adjustments?
What do y'all think about just requiring it if it's on publicly owned property? That would mean it's on a street publicly held right away, which DOT is going to require that anyway, or town property, but not individual property.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where our focus ought to be, but we'd mentioned something about there being a number of people. And if we include something that's a number of people, there should be some leeway. Like, I own an acre. I can't put 500 people in an acre.
Right, acreage
You
shouldn't
know,
matter.
so that's crazy. Even if I had a business, I only have an acre. I can't put 500 people there. But if there's somebody who does have a business where they could do that, then that should be, I think that should be allowed, because they're not coming out in the street.
Jason, does that give you sufficient guidance on maybe next steps on how we can?
Yeah, I'm thinking that I could maybe try to get in touch with Johnson County Environmental Health to see if they have any standards for stuff like that. I'm sure they have something. If not, I can look in general statutes, but there should be some way we can come up with like a table, kind of like how we addressed the accessory dwelling size a little while ago with the ordinance. We amended it to lots that were 5 acres or greater were allowed, 50% more on their accessory dwelling, just because it made sense to have that allowance instead of limiting someone just because their residence was so small. So we can kind of look at this in a similar fashion, where if you have X amount of property, you meet a certain threshold where you get like a little bit more allowance on the people and what that facilitates for the special event permit. So yeah, I think that's good on direction.
Mayor and Council, again, good discussion. We appreciate the additional time and effort there, and staff will take this back and come up with a new revised draft. So thank you for your time.
So I have one more comment. First, I'd like to see us just start with town property and get a good draft going, and then somewhere down the road, we'll figure that part out and add it in. Because that's gonna require some more, discussion, whereas we could go ahead and move forward with the town part pretty quickly, I would think.
Chris, do you think that'll give you some guidance to assist in the requests that you're receiving too?
Yes, I think I just wanted that answer. I think we've taken what I was looking for and went far left with it.
Well, again, as Jason said, it's our job as staff to give council options and then, kind of whittle it down from there. So again, good discussion. Thank you, sir.
Let me ask something similar, because do we have a noise ordinance?
Well, you have the counties, we follow the county's noise ordinance.
Because with the comment Jason made about getting some phone calls, I kind of thought it might be noise, that if we have a noise ordinance that after 11 o'clock, you can't be blaring a concert or your radio, so.
Yeah, we do have one.
I mean, that goes into another question too. If I'm having a family reunion at the park and I have a radio, I mean, pretty much we allow them to have a radio. Can I turn it up as loud as I want to? So I guess it's another question too, so.
It has time constraints. The ordinance, the county ordinance has time constraints. And I think it's actually beyond our park hours, unless.
All right, moving on to 6D, Mr. David.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. So Councilmember Davis requested placement of this item on the agenda for discussion. So as you were aware, the town of Archer Lodge requested funding through the state legislature, legislative delegation for funding for the town park. Some of the items included in the request were batting cages at the town park, bullpens, 3 grain bin style gazebos to match, that's part of the park master plan, to match the current structure for the pump house. Some fitness equipment, passive recreation, picnic tables and benches and landscaping. Ultimately, $265,000 was included in the state budget for Archer Lodge. And so, we really appreciate our legislative delegation for their efforts and advocacy. So the funding is, even though the budget's been passed, we still anticipate getting a grant agreement from the state. It's probably going to take a couple months to get that in our hands. And of course, there'll be limitations and requirements, with that contract. So, just wanted to provide that background information, and then Councilmember Davis, I don't know if there's any additional comments that you would like to make to just provide some background on this item.
So I asked them to put on, I'm trying to facilitate some conversation for the park. I personally would like us to revisit the park master plan and just make sure it's current with the current view of the council, the current council. As far, I personally think we're moving way too fast with the park, and that we're trying to get as much as we can for as little as we can. And I think we're missing some of the benchmarks that we should be hitting. I would personally like to see more shade around the playground and the ballpark, in the ball fields, as well as the multi-use field. So I'd love to see some more picnic tables. I know that was in there. But I think that instead of just going for everything we can with what little money we have, we should just slow down a little bit and focus on some few items, shoring up a few items around what we already have.
Actually, I like the idea of more shade over the playground. I was looking at that the last time I was at the park, and there was little coverage for the children. I don't know how they would establish that to cover it more, to provide.
On the actual playground?
On the actual playground. There's like
You're talking
one.
about a huge shade structure that probably will exceed what we're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, they make them, like, it's a
But they're not
possibility,
cheap.
but that's
Yeah.
a large amount. If you're talking about shading in the entire playground area.
how would, I don't know, it wouldn't help today, but it would help in the future, like, because those things they're expensive.
They're very expensive.
And, but putting some trees of some sort around there that would provide shade, I mean, it wouldn't do it today, but it would, if we had trees that were.
Well, we just lost 2 trees in recent winds too, so.
Councilman Jackson, I was going to add to that, Mr. Bone and myself were at the park in Greenville last night. Unfortunately, the game was rained out. But one of the things we noticed and talked about actually falls under the landscaping heading and that you were going across. But they had a lot of crepe myrtles, and they are pretty hardy. You know, shade wasn't an issue yesterday. And, but actually in the light rain, those mature crepe myrtles kind of shielded us at least for a little bit until the bottom fell out. But the crepe myrtles around that park, you could tell that they were intentionally planted and sited, you know, to add shade. And so the good news is to address shade, again, it's not going to have an immediate impact. But, you know, crepe myrtles or something of similar nature, you know, could provide, you know, some shading and head in that direction. I think it'd be a great addition myself, and particularly for the folks, as we saw during the state championship, that were seated all around the fence. And, you know, if we could work, you know, some every year or see how much, you know, we could purchase, you know, at this price, that hopefully will be finalized and everything signed and dotted and sealed and et cetera.
And we, you know, we can certainly, you know, work with our landscape architect to revisit the master plan and assess opportunities and, you know, move forward. And, you know, also this helps with the work on developing a town application for the open space grant with the county too. So thank you for these thoughts and discussion.
But
again, just, I have to add that the list of items was something that we kind of had pocketed for the park. We had to come up with items on a short notice. So it wasn't like we had time to actually meet with you guys and pick your brain.
We had to spend the money by a particular amount of time.
Well,
I mean,
no.
This was a set, the money that we're allowed right now was,
let me address that.
From
Let me address that, Mr. Chris, because I was the one that received the invite. So this is how it went. At midday, I received a text saying, there looks like there's a potential that money from the state budget can be designated for Town of Archer Lodge. I need to know what your needs are by tonight. I have to turn them in first thing a.m.
So you have to.
Again, that was midday. So as you remember during the budget process, we've talked about projects on the shelf and the importance of that. And this is now about the third time this has happened. And the timing was critical. And thank goodness we had some of those, you know, projects. And we put out a more expansive list than this, and which is what you do. And you know, the following day, we basically received, okay, this is what we could do. And based on, it wasn't just, you know, you don't ask for a lump sum. You have to show items with a cost figure. And fortunately, we had some estimates tied to some things. You know, fortunately, we had just received, you know, the request for Mr. Ronnie Correa with the JCLL talking about the batting cages and bullpens. And we had talked as a council, you know, if we could find some budget money for that. So that was a great find. The grain bin style gazebos, you know, that's been in a plan for a while, you know, to extend on that. So that was an opportunity. Again, it fit within the cost structure of what money was available. And again, make it stress that this is money that our citizens have paid in income taxes for years, and this is an opportunity to get some of that money coming back to Archer Lodge. We've talked about fitness equipment, not in the last year, not recent, But that has been something that has been, looked at in the past. Again, it was something that fit within the parameters of the dollars that were being discussed, and that was not shared with us at the beginning. And, of course, we can use, picnic tables and benches as well. So, and my way of putting it, 265,000 is a whole lot more than what we had, and I'm very thankful to get it. And fortunately, our delegation and the main one was here earlier tonight, Miss Donna White, was the one that relayed that message to us. So very short fuse. I would suggest maybe even adding it as a permanent feature to the budget process of not necessarily items that we're looking to add in the budget, but to include items that would be very nice to have if we could find appropriate, appropriate funding via grants. And so that we can establish and get back to having those projects on the shelf, because I tell you, we have benefited from that a number of times. We really have.
And I just want to add, it wasn't just, one or two emails. We were going back and forth late into the night and early the next morning, probably had about a dozen emails back and forth, just tweaking things based on, feedback from the legislative delegation.
Yeah.
So certainly appreciate them and their efforts.
What are the estimates for the items listed here?
There were, so I don't have it in the agenda packet, but if you would, I can share that with you. They were just very rough estimates.
The one thing I'd ask, I like the idea about crepe myrtles for shade and their low maintenance costs. So when we get down to the landscaping, consider maintenance costs, because right now there's a lot you guys have to maintain already. So just for consideration.
And I just want to mention as
Things that
well, thank you, for, shade structures and other things, if we're talking, concrete and other things, we do have impervious surface requirements, with our property. And, that's already been planned extensively. And so, we can't just, put a lot of concrete, a lot of structures out there. We have to be, very particular about, what we're doing, and that may prevent other improvements down the road.
So probably just like to leave off y'all. I'd like to see council revisit the master plan for the park within the next 2 months. I would prefer to see it next month, but I'll leave that open to y'all and what y'all think.
I mean,
Is this before purchases?
No, I'm fine with the purchases because they are where they are right now, but I would like for this council to revisit the master plan soon.
What particular about the master plan, if I may ask?
Any open areas that have not been constructed on or have there are plans to, there may be an area that has a plan that's good, this is what's going on in this area. I'd like to revisit those if the project hasn't been started, even if the project hasn't been bidded yet. If y'all said, hey, this is what we're putting here, I'd like to revisit that.
Well, the good news, that'll be a pretty short list, because we're just about done with the east side, and on the west side, the project has started.
It sounds like you're talking two different things. The master plan is going to be more for what the citizens are asking for in the future. That being, a recreation center and things like that. If we're talking particular things at the park, I think that's what Ms. Susan Hatchell and Minnie have already come up with, as far as the scope of what the park is going to look like.
So well, I'd like to look at that, what they've said the park will look like. I guess the last thing I'd like to say, I would like to see more, the trees are great for shade, but I would like to see similar to the structure here at the community center, that red shade structure. I'd like to see some of those around the ballpark and the playground.
Are you referencing the amphitheater?
No,
Over the
Like
picnic
over by
table?
the,
shade canopy.
yeah, over by
Kind
the,
of like the new one we had down at, the pickleball.
Pickleball, that's the newest one. And that turned out nice, by the way.
Turned out great, it's spacious as well.
Yeah. I think it's great to work in additional shade structures, you know, as time allows. I know one area that a shelter of some sort, it would be dual purpose. You know, I don't think it was included on this year's budget. But in between where the softball, baseball fields are, where we have the bleachers, you know, we've talked about protection from foul balls. And, you know, that would be a dual purpose, you know, whether it's a fabric type shade structure or if it's some type of metal roof shade structure, but something that would be, you know, low maintenance and lasting. And, but that would be a good area for one to consider. I'm sure it's not cheap. There are some challenges in that location though, because there's some underground utilities there. I know we've talked about that in the past. But yeah, I think shade structures will be great to work in future budgets. We probably won't be able to put them all into one budget, but, you know, make it a goal to add those as we go forward. With the new multi-use fields that we have at the back of the east side of the property, you know, there's going to be a number of future soccer games and other activities there. It'd be a great opportunity to have some shade structure or something discussed, you know, for that area as well. I think it's a great idea. All right, any other questions on that topic? All right, item number 7, Town Attorney's Report.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Item number 8, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and council, just want to highlight, you know, that, first of all, just, you know, really want to thank you for including the strategic plan in the budget. You know, I think it's going to be a great process for us. So, you know, it's just a good way to build on what has already been done in recent months. So the town's annual budget is where, you know, money meets the road regarding, you know, planning for the town's annual year. And so that adoption of the budget is a good start for the next 12 months. We, again, thank you for adopting the comprehensive land use plan, you know, tonight. That is, you know, been 2.5 years in the making. And, you know, really appreciate council attentiveness and, you know, going through that with detail. And as we discussed tonight as well, we've got, you know, several planning projects planned in the near future. The development of a comprehensive transportation plan and partner with UNC, and then the development of the strategic plan. So, you know, all this is kind of coming together, I think, at a good time. And it's really an exciting time for the town as we work to plan and prepare for the town's future. You know, and, you know, to help council prepare for its strategic planning, I included 2 articles about the strategic planning process, just for background reading in the agenda packet. So certainly encourage you to review that. And, you know, also I highlighted that previously through emails that the League of Municipalities is putting on a strategic planning training August 25th and 26th in Leland. You know, there is a cost to that, but, you know, I have heard very positive things about that. And participants must attend in teams of 3 to participate in that. So at least 2 elected officials and 1 staff member. So just let me know if you're interested in that. Obviously, time is of the essence if you want to attend that. So let me know ideally this week. Secondly, I've shared also with you the Commit to Civility training that's offered by the League of Municipalities on October 1st. Again, I've heard really good things about this and how that really has helped councils just, you know, kind of define how it wants to operate and work with each other, with staff and the community. And, you know, I've had this past week, I had another workshop through ICMA. There was another committee that wasn't this specifically, but had a very similar commitment to civility. I believe they called it something a little bit different, but, you know, very similar. And they really saw that was a good first step to, you know, really come together as a council and a community. So, you know, the league training is free. There is no cost. It's virtual, so you don't have to travel. There's no additional travel cost, and we can host it here at the council chambers. So, you know, and it's not just about a single training. It's about offering a pathway to designation through a multi-step process and to include a pledge and adoption of a civility resolution by at least 75% of the governing board. Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry and I have registered for the 2-hour training. Again, I encourage all of you to consider participation on October 1st, and just reach out if you have any questions or if you would like for us to register you for that event. I've got the rest of my town administrator's report and agenda, and certainly I'm not going to go over those details, but certainly if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. Item number 9, Assistant Town Administrator, Finance Officer's Report.
Mayor, Council, I do have financials that I'll be sharing that were not ready when the agenda. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I will say for those new members, as you'll see at the top, I'm actually looking at the sheet that's got the general fund on the front. Revenues and expenditures, you'll see it says preliminary, June 30th, because we still receive revenues up until September the 15th, and there's still some payables for the prior year up to that point as well. One definitely is Peg Media, who gets paid out of the franchise taxes that are distributed on September the 15th. So that, pretty much that same day when we receive those funds, we get the invoice from Peg Media, and that has to turn around and go back out. So this is a preliminary. As you can tell, that the revenues currently that I'm showing in hand is a little over 3 million. And the expenditures today is around 2.7, with a positive balance of 265,735 in the general fund. And I'm actually looking for that to increase for the general fund. If you'll turn over to the next page, these are our reserve funds, capital reserve, park reserve, and public safety reserve, all of which have had a positive reflection on revenues. The capital reserve is looking at about 77,000 adding to that as well. The interest has been submitted and recorded for that as of June 30th. Park reserve fund, the same with that, with investment earnings, and then the 2 cent that has gone in that over the past fiscal year ending June 30th, and then public safety is pretty much the investment earnings. But remember, both the capital reserve and public safety, we were able to transfer 75,000 into capital reserve and 70,000 into public safety reserve from the general fund this past year. So if you'll look on the 3rd page that I sent right behind that sheet, the preliminary figures for the year-to-date column, looking at fund balance, may go around $517,000 this past year. So we're being very fruitful with the spending of what we get. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of these 4 funds? Okay, if not, then a real quick recap on the grants that we have still in-house. The SCIF grant that was originally received in April of 2022. You'll go to the very back sheet. Those funds are dwindling down to, we've got $3,259.18 left. There's still $11,793 that's encumbered for a project or a PO that we have out there that's probably not finished. And I'm wondering if that's probably the maintenance, park maintenance, fencing. I'm not sure, but anyway, I've got that encumbered of $11,793. So that fund is on, those grant funds are almost through. And then if you go over to the reader grant, that was originally given us only 2 years to spend, but we just got the extension to the end of this calendar year. And so if you'll go to the last page there, it's showing a balance left to spend is $183,906. That doesn't mean we don't have the projects. We've just been waiting to get certain funds in and bills in so that we can see exactly about how much money we have left of that 2.3 million that we got back 2 years ago. We have encumbered $358,000. A good portion of that is the park maintenance building. So if you got any questions about what's left that is encumbered, that's not yet expended, or any questions at all regarding either of those 2 grants, please let me know. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Unless anybody has any questions
I have
right
a
now.
question on the reader grant. So there's 183,000 left. Could y'all elaborate on what projects y'all want to use that money for?
I don't have that in front of me, but Chris may. It's all park related. The 183,000, do we have an idea of the projects left that we had, you and Mike and David, we kind of brainstormed?
On the reader grant.
I'll look back through that list and we can review it. I haven't been in office.
Yeah, what, I'm
I
sorry.
haven't been in office, but we can review
Yeah,
it.
so if you will,
I can follow up with you.
Okay.
yep. Anybody else have any questions?
I would imagine a good portion is that maintenance building, I would think, but anyway, that's just right off the top of my head.
Has that not already been encumbered? The whole maintenance building?
The park maintenance building has been encumbered.
The whole project for the maintenance
No,
building?
and there's still portions of it that hasn't, such as the gravel, the fencing, things of that.
And we still have to get furniture and,
Furniture for the.
The gravel should have already been encumbered because we voted on that in the budget.
That's probably in the budget. I don't know. We have a list on the spreadsheet that was done a while back. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
But we'll be glad to send you what we do have. One thing that we do know that we're going to have to do is our ordinance requires landscaping around that side of the park as well, as we did Phase 1 and Phase 2, and that has not been accounted for. So that will have to be passed as well.
I guess I have a question for town attorney. What kind of leeway does the town have regarding the landscape ordinance as far as exemptions and stuff like that?
We have to follow our ordinances. So we can apply for variances to ourselves, but we have to go through the process. We have to have a public hearing. So we can't just go, well, we're not going to follow that one because we're the town and we decided we didn't want to. We have to follow our own ordinances.
Any more questions? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, Town Planners Report. Mr. Jason, do you have a report? I know we've talked about a lot of your things during the.
Yeah,
regular
not
meeting.
at this time. There's a lot going on, so if y'all have any specific questions, we'll probably have a follow-up with DOT soon. We have projects with the crosswalk from the church to the community center, And then we're also in discussions with them about the crosswalk from the west side of the park to the east side of the park. And I think we've come up with a semblance of a plan to make that work. And they feel good about the spot that they've located and identified. And we discussed with Susan Hatchell, who's the designer and landscape architect, if we have enough impervious surface left over to put in a trail or a sidewalk or some combination of that. And they told us that that was accounted for, so we do have some wiggle room with that. So I'll keep you all posted as we know more, but those are the two things right now.
Great. Item number 11, Parks and Recreation Director's Report. Mr. Chris?
Again, congratulations to our young ladies for their victory this evening in Greenville for the Little League World Series. Our last Popsicles in the Park program will be tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the park. It'll be led by Mr. Vandergrath again. This will be his third time telling a variety of stories to kids as well as parents. They've learned to... Johnny does a lot because his stories are based around a character, Johnny, learning, and there's morals to it as well. Johnny is into a lot of mischief. I definitely would say. With that project, we've had over 100 people in attendance for every session that we've had this summer, which is excellent. It just shows that the program is growing. And again, you're probably talking 80% of the people that attend this program have not been to our park. So again, it's exposing people that traditionally wouldn't come to our park. It is exposing them to our park. And again, they don't just come for the program. They come, they participate in the walking trail, the playgrounds, as well as you'll find some parents and kids just sitting in open space reading books, which is what the program is for, is encouraging reading throughout the summer. So it's definitely making its effect in this community. Our softball clinics, we're on the last stitch for our softball clinics as well. We have 22 young ladies signed up for that program. We missed 3 today just because they were going to support the team in Greenville today. So the parents did reach out to let us know that they would be missing. But we have 22 signed up for that, and that's been a great program this summer as well. Registration is currently open for our Wii Ball, T-Ball, baseball and softball programs. We run Wii Ball in the fall. Wii Ball is an introductory program that JCLL came up with where it's kind of lower than T-Ball. It's for, we take ages 3 to 4. And again, it's just introducing them to the sport of baseball. And again, parents just want to see their kids with a jersey and a number on the back and just take the picture saying my kid did this right here. So it's definitely a positive effect here on the community. And then lastly here, we are offering our second session of archery as well. That'll take place Saturday, September the 12th from 9 to 11. I learned a little bit more from the first program where I think anything over 2 hours is kind of, the kids get kind of like they're ready to do something else. We ran a little bit over 3 hours the last session, and at that 2 hour period, they were kind of ready to wrap it up. So we're running another session Saturday, September 12th. And that concludes everything that we have for here for Parks and Rec. Any questions, concerns? Thank you.
All right. Item number 12, Mayor's Report. Again, congratulations to our JCLL state champions. What a really nice send-off last Tuesday. That was a great event to see that team have their final practice prior to traveling to Greenville. And to be a part of that was very special. I know that next day when they pulled out, that was quite an assembly that they had in procession with all of the public safety and fire trucks as well as law enforcement. And what a wonderful procession for those young ladies. This is And again, so exciting today to see and hear about their not one but two wins today. And very proud of them, and we continue to pray and cheer them on, and hopefully they will continue to play well on into the week, and hopefully play Saturday. And Saturday will be the final, isn't that correct? And, all right, and along the line of the parkland, again, this is a huge month for the history of the town. We closed on that 30 acres in August of 2018, and we pay our final payment this month on the land. And so that is a big achievement in the history of the town. Very proud of that. Item 13A, council members' remarks. Councilman Jackson.
Well, just a few things. One is, I missed last meeting. I was on a mission trip with some young folks from our community going up to the western part of North Carolina to help bring some houses up to code, make them safer, warmer, safer, drier is kind of what we go for on those houses. And then I'm officially jealous of Mike Gordon now. That the Order of the Longleaf Pine is the only award I really ever care about getting. I've got a lot of awards in the Army, and I was proud of some of them, and some of them I got for just being lucky. But that's the one award I think that is left on my list to get. And do yourself a favor. They started off reading. They read the first stanza of the North Carolina Toast, which is the "Here's to the Land of Longleaf Pine." There's 3 more stanzas to it, and it is it's a pretty neat toast. North Carolina is the only state with an official toast, and it's a pretty neat toast. And if you ask me at some point after the meeting, I can recite it to you. That's it.
All right, Councilmember Davis.
So a few comments. I would like staff to hit social media hard with this gun ordinance. Let's get it up on the town website and social media, all the social media that we have. And I would also like y'all to reach out to, I guess, East Wake TV and see if they can run something with it before the next meeting.
All right, Councilmember Eccles.
I would echo congratulations to our girls again. You all saw I was excited when they made that announcement. Had to get my decorum back. But I was also going to mention, when we talk about the event planning, maybe we could push the meeting a little more. And for each of us, even as councils, talk to our neighbors and other people about looking at the agenda and coming to the meetings. I actually had a resident ask me about flock cameras, and they're supposed to be contacting us, all of the council, in reference to their concerns. They could not come tonight, but I just wanted to put that in your ear. And just remember to be kind and show love. You never know what someone is going through, and just continue being a great Archer Lodge resident and citizen.
All right, and Councilmember Bruton.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, item 14, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Vote is unanimous, thank you.